How's it going, everyone? DJ Aceman, Big Don, back here with the Peace and Chaos program. We've been gone for quite a while, but we are back.
Yeah, crap went down since we've left. There's a lot of things to talk about tonight, particularly with the midterms coming up, which we'll be highlighting, of course, as you can tell by the title of our video. But we're getting to all that. Let's see here. DJ Ace Man, how are you today?
Good. Everything is good here. How about you, Big Don?
We're trying to figure out the job situation here, but other than that, I can't complain about life.
There you go. There you go. Well, with that being said, and the title of our live stream tonight, we're going to be discussing some of the big issues going into the 2022 midterms. And there have been a lot of issues that went down earlier this year. We saw the overturn of Roe v. Wade. We've unfortunately seen more waves of violence and also the debate about gun violence and also inflation, too, which has been a key issue facing a lot of Americans.
It's been
So,
back
this
a little bit.
Yes, so this right here is a Gallup poll. This is most important problem, and this is percentage of Americans mentioning economic issues as the nation's most important issue. And this right here, it has 38%. This was taken September 1st, so before the Fed introduced the higher interest rates to try to curb inflation. But if you look at some of the other issues that they have referenced, high cost inflation, 17%. In September. You had the economy in general at 12%, and that's kind of mostly stayed the same. Fuel and oil prices, that's actually gone down a bit in the summer, but I think we're going to discuss this a little bit more in detail later on as we approach the colder months, why that could be an issue. And then unemployment jobs have mostly stayed the same with wage issues, taxes, and the federal budget deficit kind of staying around 1%. But look at the non economic issues. So the government poor leadership, this is actually been an interesting one. 22% who were polled say that was the issue. And then immigration, 6% we've seen in recent weeks. The busing of migrants to the vice president's residency in Washington, D.C. We saw it also to Chicago and also the flight to Martha's Vineyard. So that's been an issue. And
It's
racism,
been
race
also a big
relations.
problem in New York here.
Yep.
I'll highlight that a little bit because I've been following it. So they've been trying to let's see here. So Mayor Adams, of course, they're getting a lot of migrants. I think they're probably in the second most, or I think they're definitely up there in terms of amount of migrants that are being sent up there. And Mayor Adams is setting up these little, like, I guess, little sites in the Bronx where migrants are being held. And then, but recently there's been a lot of flooding there, and that's a flood zone in New York City. So recently, some council in New York proposed that they send us to vacant hotels, and we'll see where Adams falls up on that. But that is a big issue right now. That's being run on heavily by Republicans who are fear mongering immigration. But that's the but that's obviously a major concern for a lot of Americans. So
Yeah, and it's interesting too how, immigration, I think we saw like last year how the news media, especially the conservative news media was trying to paint it as, the border crisis, and I think that as time went on, I think a lot of those governors, especially Governor Abbott of Texas and also Governor DeSantis of Florida, said, I think they started proposing this idea of, you know what, maybe if these blue states that are in blue cities that are farther away from the border, they're not really seeing the full issue because they're not experiencing what we see every day. So bringing the migrants and just trafficking them to these cities has actually brought this into a bigger part of the conversation. Um, and to see immigration stay around, 5-6% is a little surprising, especially since we have. I mean, this was prior to the busing of migrants to both Vice President Harris's residence in D.C. and also in New York and Martha's Vineyard.
yeah, of course, the big center of that right now is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's now funding the busing of migrants from other states with the I'm not sure if it's taxpayer money, or I'm not sure where he's getting the money from, but he's the one that's heavily funding this, and he's the one kind of pushing the message of, like, okay, exactly what he said there, that Democratic states need to take on their responsibility as well. I think he's being sued by some sheriff in
Mhm.
Texas in
Yep.
terms of, like, whether or not that violates like sort of like human trafficking laws, and obviously people are very contentious about this because of the way it's being done, or like
Yeah,
a weapon.
yeah. Do you think, let's say, fast forward 2 years, knowing that Governor DeSantis is, um, there's been some rumors that he could be running for president in 2024. He's a favorite amongst a lot of pollsters. Do you think that if he runs, this could, impact his ability to or impact his ability to win the presidency?
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's gonna be if he gets like a nomination or anything. I don't think it's gonna happen in any Republican primary, but unless it was like a moderate that's doing it. But if he gets like a nomination, then yeah, it's gonna be heavily used in attack ads against him. So that might come back to bite him if he does decide to run for president. Obviously, if this trial goes, then it could be a bad look for him regardless. So, and Liz is here. Oh boy, yeah, we're zooming in for you.
Yeah, we have to zoom in. Yeah, I noticed that too. The, screen
It's too
just came in a
small.
little small.
StreamYards. What are you doing there? We have to, even though I love StreamYards, we used to stream on friggin' Zoom over there.
Oh, Zoom. Oh, man.
That was
Those
a
were
treat.
the old days.
Those were the olden days, the
I'm glad
glory days.
StreamYard. We upgraded with StreamYard.
Yeah, even though it looks kind of like crap right now with the screen share, it looks a lot nicer with the whatchamacallits, the this view right here. Actually, no, not that view. There we go. But there. But back to the issues right here. So immigration, that's obviously a big issue that's going to be on the polls right there. If we look at other issues, not economic sort of issues, we always got inflation. People are worrying about a recession right now. I
Mhm,
know there's like a lot of speculation in regards to like stock investors and in terms of like them actually like preparing for inflation. They're very bearish.
mhm.
So I'm not sure what it's going to lead to in terms of like money markets, but the Fed's trying to like cool things down. We'll see how that impacts the economy over there. And then obviously abortion is going to be a big issue for a lot of voters right there because it's a very very moral and social issue that I think it's always been a hot button issue, and rightfully so. It's a big sort of moral commitment in terms of like where people stand on abortion.
Mhm. What I think is interesting is that with this Gallup poll, this was so this one right here, 5 that I'm highlighting was May 1st. So this was right around the time that the leak happened when the decision was that got leaked. And then come June, look at that, 4 weeks later, before they actually made the decision, it was only 1% of people thinking that that was the biggest issue. And then right here, July 1st, 8%. And then since
Boom.
then, it's gone down from 5 and to 4%. So that signals that as the election cycle goes on, this might not be the biggest issue that households and voters are looking into, but maybe poor leadership, immigration, race relations, unifying the country, or even high cost of inflation being the highest one in the economy in general. So it shows you that as time goes on and as these issues aren't in the news as much, and maybe people are just not reading enough on it or just not seeing it as much, that they start to see other issues as being the primary cause for why they're going to vote a certain way.
Yeah, I think those are all fair points. Now, once we look at the midterms right now, we're going to focus on key battleground states right here. I think one, of course, is going to be the state of Georgia, which we've been talking about extensively in our last video that we talked about this with Warnock and now
Herschel Walker, yep.
Hershel Walker, former Heisman Trophy winner and the man responsible for starting the Dallas Cowboys dynasty. He wasn't actually responsible for it. He was just he was a part of a trade that wasn't responsible for it. So good looks for him. He's been in a bit of hot water recently.
Yes. Yes, he has been. He has, yeah, in recent news with Herschel Walker, as you could see, there have been a lot of issues with this family about an abortion. Now, there was a story that came out recently about Herschel Walker having an abortion with a woman who wasn't his wife. And then his son came in and chimed in on the conversation. But it signals to a lot of Georgia voters that abortion is going to be a tough topic to discuss, especially for Republicans. And I think with Herschel Walker and now his past coming to life, and also some of his family issues, his relation with his son, this could hurt him, and it actually has. If you look at the polls right here,
Yeah, let's
way
pull these up.
back, some of the polls way back here. This was September. We'll actually go
By the
right
way, I
here.
can't see it, by the way.
Oh no,
No, we're gonna do a little shift right here.
yeah, we have to do a shift really quick. Okay, I'll pull up the polls really quick. Bear with me, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's just getting back into the swing. But if you look right here, this is the summertime. This is August, right around August 30th. This is before all the news came out about Herschel Walker and the abortion news. It was a 50-50 tie. 50% chance either way. That's what polls were indicating. But since the whole issue with the abortion come to mid September, and this is when the polls start showing a shift, and a shift for the incumbent, Raphael Warnock. Right now, today, 58% chance of winning, according to 538, in comparison to 42% for Herschel Walker. And this is a big race, too, because the Senate right now is knotted up at 50. You have a race in Pennsylvania, which we're going to discuss a little bit, that is seeing the incumbent stepping down. He's a Republican, and this is bringing weight to either um, right now Lieutenant Governor or Republican Mehmet Oz. So that's also going to be a big issue, but I think big race. But I think Republicans really need to start focusing on um, this race, and I think that with Walker right now trailing on this key issue of abortion and also his family, that Warnock can just run away with this race. And right now, it shows you. Look at it. Look at these numbers. This was Marist College's poll back in mid-September, had +5 Warnock. YouGov had +2 right around the same time. But you look at 3 weeks later, right around this time, Survey USA, which is an A rating, which is one of the best ratings for a poll, has Warnock at +12. So just looking at these numbers, Big Don, what do you think uh, is the big issue for Walker?
Well, obviously, I mean, with these scandals that are coming out, it kind of goes directly into his policy because I mean, Republicans have been very pro-life, and this obviously is not a pro-life stance right here. If you're coming out, especially if you're having like a second child with like a woman that's not your wife, so obviously, big downfall for Walker right here. This is going to come back to bite him, and this is not perfect timing. And let's see here. I watched the interview he did on Fox News in response to his son Christian Walker, who is I think he's a Christian influencer, and
Hmm.
a conservative influencer, and he bashed him, and then Herschel kind of like had to like shrug it off a little bit. So I think he
Hmm.
said we could pull up that interview, but
Okay.
yeah, not looking too good for the former. I think here's how Walker got started with Trump. He used to play for Trump in the USFL when he
Yep.
won the New Jersey Generals. So that's how he got into it, and now he's taking a big stand right here in terms of running it. But now it's clear
Hmm.
this man ain't getting up.
Damn.
He's got to do the walk of shame.
I'm trying to pull up this Fox News interview. Uh, yeah, it seemed like okay. I'll try to find the video right here.
By the way, whatever kid coming into the chat right here, he said, "Nice to see you guys return right here." Obviously, big props to whatever kid right here. We're still waiting on that debate he's going to have with that one Andrew Tate fan. And then let's see here. And then Liz chimed in. Yep, I heard Christian Walker. I would like to see what he said. Yeah, he went off. I think Christian's all over the damn place. If I'm quite honest with you, he's just one of those like he's like Candace Owens where he just goes and like rants about like whatever is possible, and then he can like get away with like the minority card or whatever. I'm
hmm.
being very unfiltered tonight.
All right, this right here is the Fox News clip. We can watch a little bit of it. I think this is the interview.
do. They figured out they're going to lose. Herschel's going to win, so they're going to throw everything
Oh,
at
Rick Scott. Good old Rick Scott. How is he still in the limelight?
He's actually the
He's focused on the right
national committee for the Republicans. Hold on.
issues.
And it's neck and neck race. And of course, what Senator Rick Scott's referring to is a series of revelations. With less than 5 weeks until Election Day, GOP leadership is rallying around Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker. This in the wake of a Daily Beast report claiming the political newcomer, football standout, paid for an ex-girlfriend's abortion back in 2009. In fact, she even produced a card. She said a check arrived in to pay for it, just over about $700. Herschel Walker joins us now. Herschel has been a tornado over the last 48 hours. I watched you with Sean the other night. This, according to the Daily Beast, you know this woman, even though her identity is not known. Have you figured out who it is?
Not at all, and that's what I hope everyone can see. It's sort of like everyone is anonymous or everyone is leaking, and they want you to confess to something you have no clue about. But it just shows how desperate they are right now. They see me as a big threat, and I know that, and I knew it when I got into this race. But they don't realize that I think they came for the wrong one. They energized me. They energized me because I know how they really want to try to keep this seat. And if I let them keep this seat, that means we're going to have high taxes. That means that this border going to stay wide open. That means we're going to have crime on the street. Well, that's the reason.
All right. So pretty much for what Herschel's saying here is, yeah, they're coming after me now, and this is what happens when you don't vote for me.
Yeah, and he's trying to like deflect it too, and this is a lot of I mean, this is the playbook that both sides always do. This is just a political thing where they just come on, try to not address the issue or try to just like kind of push it off to the side and talk about the main issues. And I mean, the thing is that a lot of Republicans are running on border, they're running on taxes, so they're running on the economic and immigration issues. And this is what we're going to see, I think, with all races, with all Senate races, and also just any race that the Republicans are running in, is they're going to try to avoid abortion because they know that Democrats are running on, you know, pro-abortion, and also kind of making it a fight for women's freedom, women's reproductive rights. So
yeah, those are. I think we highlighted those issues once we talked about the midterms right there. But let's get into the crust of this. Let's skip around right here. I think they played
they've energized
me.
I think they played a portion of Christian's video right here. So let's skip around here because I think Walker's probably gonna say like a lot of the same stuff.
And the Republicans obviously more than likely cannot get the Senate back without 0 weeks when it comes to abortion.
Oh yeah, here are these signatures right
here. And you signed it. You've had a chance to look at this now online and on Sean Hannity's show. Is that you?
That's what I said. Sean. That looks like my signature. First of all, I never just put an H on anything. I never have. And I said, you know how many things I've signed, but I've never signed anything with just an H. And I said, that's why I said, whoever is doing this is, it's not true. It's a lie.
Right.
And right now, that's the reason I say I'm going to fight because, I've been redeemed. That's one thing about it. I've been redeemed. And I'm going to make this statement here. It's like they're trying to bring up my past to hurt me, but they don't know, like, bringing up my past only energized me to go out and fight even harder because I've been to 400 bases to talk about my book, and I'm not trying to sell books here because I knew the pain it had through mental health.
What was this? What's this book he's referring to?
I don't know, but he's trying to sell it.
Oh man! Wow, he turned this interview into a book selling. Wow!
I'm trying to sell my book.
I have to see where they they play
now,
the.
Trying to do
I gotta see
anything
where
in
they
their
play.
power to take
Oh,
this
here
seat,
it is.
But
Yeah, here we go.
We have his son. We're gonna go pull this up.
Is don't lie about your life.
An influencer, conservative, and this is what he came out and said after this revelation and your appearance with Sean. Listen.
My intention is don't lie about your life at the expense of me, my mom, and all of the people that you've affected throughout your life. You don't get to pretend you're some moral family guy. You don't get to pretend all these things. Talk policy, talk normal. Do not lie.
So he saw that and says,
damn. I think it really shows when you have someone who's, related to them and they come out and attack them. I mean, we saw this with Trump's niece back in 2020. And we also saw this with Hillary Clinton's, I believe it was her niece or someone related to Hillary too, that came out and kind of exposed them in the family. So, do you think that this right here with Christian Walker being someone who's a conservative influencer, do you think that this is a um, big thing for him?
Oh yeah, that's a big thing for him. I mean, we talk about relatives right here, and yes, I'm gonna answer Liz's question right here. Yes, that is his son. I think later on in the interview they just showed like one of my favorite parts was they were showing pictures of them together, and it was only like one picture of their graduation. So I'm not sure if they have really a particular close relationship. Obviously, Walker has kind of helped use his Republican status to I guess boost his social media cred.
Hmm.
But this is pretty damning if you ask me. Oh geez, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, that is, and it also shows you too how much, even though policies are important, I think also the character too. And I mean, we discuss this on every election phase, is that there's always going to be discussions about the character of the candidate and about their past actions and about what has gone on in their lives and how they're going to either be professional about it or, there's going to be some things that are hiccups and could impact their electability. Do you think that Herschel Christian's video about his father, especially with just talking about, you can talk about politics or policies, but you're lying about your family life. Do you think that that's going to hurt him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be caught lying if you're any politician. I mean, we all know politicians lie a lot, but they don't want to make it blatantly obvious to voters, and this obviously pretty much is. And I think this came out before the fact that he had another child with this ex girlfriend. So, I
Hmm.
mean, we'll see what the media storm brings with Herschel Walker, but yeah, obviously he's trying to deflect right here, and if we play it forward, I think he's going to further deflect.
Is you're lying, Herschel. What do you say about your son? Is he telling the truth?
Well, I love my son unconditionally, and that's where I've always been. I always love him unconditionally. He graduated college a couple of months ago. He's now a young man doing his own thing, but his father is always there for him. I always will be for any of my kids, and I love them. I always support them, and I always have supported them, and I always will, and I love them unconditionally.
But he's doing tremendous damage to you by coming out with those statements. Do you know why he's saying this?
Well, the damage he's doing is letting people know that the left will do whatever they can to win this seat. And I told you when I got in this race, I'm going to win this seat. People see someone sitting here in front of you right now that's been redeemed. And I want America to know I'm living proof that you can make mistakes and get
Oh
up
no.
and keep
Okay.
going forward, but you can only
Yep.
do it in this
See
country right
see
here.
this?
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. I think he's just called the son a leftist.
Hmm.
I'm bamboozled.
I mean, he said, "Yeah, the left will try to tear you down," and it sounded like when Kilmeade asked him about his son, he kind of painted him as the left. But yeah, it's interesting to see that and to see his response. And I mean, he's always going to try to deflect it because I think all politicians will try to deflect the question to fall forward, in the words of Denzel Washington. But
Hey.
yeah, I think that it's awkward that it's awkward that I think the son made the video. I think it's going to hurt Herschel Walker tremendously. But I think Herschel Walker's response, although it's a political move by him, I think it still shows you that there's probably turbulence between he and his son and how this is going to hurt him. And this is going to bring up a lot of voters, Georgia voters, who might be undecided and say, well, abortion is an issue that I care a lot. Um, and, you know, with Herschel Walker, supposedly being against it and also being a hypocrite, I'm just going to vote for Senator Warnock. So I think this is an issue that is going to hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad you could come to agreement right there. If you have thoughts on Herschel Walker, obviously we're getting a little bit of chatter in our chat room here in terms of the Atlantis here. But I'm going to extend this. If you want to call into the Peace and Chaos program, click that link right there in the chat, and then you'll be bringing to a little waiting room right there as we cover the next issues.
Definitely. Any last words on Georgia?
Looks like it's gonna be going. I mean, I know we predicted Warnock in our midterms analysis just by a hair. I think he's got a little bit of a wider margin now.
Yeah.
But things are gonna be looking interesting in terms of what's gonna come out within the next couple of weeks with Walker's wife right there.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you want to turn it over and go north to Pennsylvania?
Yep, we're going to the northeast. It's it's leaf peeping season over there. So and of course we got election time. Now,
Yep.
obviously, we got a big celebrity along with Walker that's running over there. His name is Dr. Oz. Oh wait, let's
Mm.
see.
Dr. Oz against Lieutenant Governor Fetterman. So it seems like right now the polls are indicating that it's showing that Fetterman has a bigger lead than what we once thought. Although it has gone down quite a bit, at least it was around 83 according to 538's numbers. But since then, it's gone down quite a bit, and this is by the popular vote. They're saying he's going to get about 52 or about 50% of the popular vote right now. But I'm looking at a lot of these polls, and all these polls favor Fetterman, but it has kind of dwindled a bit in recent weeks. You had the Beacon Research, Sean Company Research poll that came out on the between September 22nd and 26th, and they right now favor Fetterman by 4. Suffolk University's poll released between the 27th and 30th of September has Fetterman at +6, and the Emerson College poll, which was the most recent one, which was released 23rd to the 26th, has Fetterman at +2. Now, the big talk about this race, or the big news, was that Fetterman actually suffered a stroke back in May, which hindered his ability to campaign. And there have been talks that Oz is, not really for Pennsylvania. I don't think he was even living in Pennsylvania for quite a while. I think he had multiple residencies across the Northeast.
Yeah, he was
And
probably living like I remember him living in like Connecticut, which
yeah,
not the rural part of Connecticut where people drive through, the Gold Coast of Connecticut. So that gives you some perspective.
so he was bringing that up, and there was all that talk, but I think the main concern with Fetterman was that his ability, since he suffered a stroke, what his ability will be like if he is elected to the Senate. How will he be able to go to these hearings, all these different things? Because there have been videos that have come out with him, having slurred speech and different health effects due to his suffered stroke that he suffered earlier this year. But I want to get your thoughts on this race in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What do you think so far? How do you think this is going to turn out? Do you think that Fetterman, the his path for victory is going to be clearer as the weeks go on, or do you think that Fetterman can? Or do you think that Oz is going to be able to pull up the upset here?
Well, I do have a question for this because I generally do have a lack of knowledge on what's going on in PA. But have there been any like debates?
I believe there's one going to be scheduled. Again, I don't think there was a debate yet. And I think there was the main concern with Republicans was that the debate was going to be held where early voting would have already started. But let me see. I think they agreed to one debate, if I'm not mistaken. But I just want to fact check this before I confirm it.
Yeah, because that could be a very crucial right here. I think that's going to come down to how these guys perform in front of like a live audience right here. Fetterman has a pretty sizable advantage right here. He has narrowed it down in some polls, but I don't know. There's obviously concerns right there, as you brought up. There's also concerns with Oz as well in terms of like his public appearances in Pennsylvania, and
Mhm.
obviously the question of whether or not he'll actually support Pennsylvanians or he's just piggybacking off this as a celebrity, trying to get into politics.
Mhm. Yeah, so, regarding the debate, they have scheduled one debate, which will be October 25th. However, the Oz campaign has put out a statement recently, and they said, "John Fetterman has only agreed to one debate on October 25th, which would take place after hundreds of thousands of absentee and mail-in voters begin casting their ballots." So, their main concern is that since the, early absentee votings and mail-in would already be a thing, that people have already made up their minds, even though they've never seen these two square off face to face and debate their policies. And I think that's a main concern that, especially the Oz campaign has, because it seems like Fetterman, since he is the lieutenant governor right now, and since he's already familiar with a lot of Pennsylvania voters, that he could, I mean, he's favored to win. But Oz and his team believe that since Pennsylvania has been a swing state for these past two election cycles, that he has a chance, and that with Fetterman's recent health issues, that they have a chance to keep Pennsylvania a Republican seat in the Senate.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point right there. I mean, Pennsylvania has been, as you said, a sort of battleground state for a lot of presidential elections, and then it's been pretty on off in terms of like state representation. Obviously, gerrymandering
Mhm.
is it's a big issue there right now in terms of like what's sort of them so what sort of parts are gerrymandered and counted as towards like a state election. So and not obviously right here, I'm just reading this right now. Let's see here. Fetterman raised $22 million in third quarter of a contentious Pennsylvania primary race. That's according to CNN. And yeah, as you mentioned, there's obviously a little bit of concern right there with their debate on October 25th because early mail-in voting is going to be it's gonna be a big part. That's gonna when everything's gonna be going out. And it's probably
Mhm.
gonna be favoring Democrats because Democrats are more likely to vote by mail. But I would still say that's a big opportunity for Oz right there to put himself in front of a live audience and then show if he can actually like hold down any of his positions and do a fair job of actually performing. Because I think once the general election comes around, that'll be a key indicator.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. There's still probably a lot of undecided voters who maybe haven't educated themselves on who the candidates are and their policies. So that could also be an opportunity for Oz to get some of the vote there as well. And we saw that with, even the 2020 election, there was still a significant portion of people that were undecided. So they decided to vote on election day. And this could be where Oz can gain some ground against Fetterman because Fetterman, I'm assuming that most of the people who are voting, as you mentioned, a lot of them are going to be Democrats. So they probably are going to vote. So we'll know on election day that there'll probably be a bigger Republican turnout in Pennsylvania. So this could be a big chance for Oz to showcase what his policies are and also to connect with the Pennsylvania electorate.
Yeah, absolutely, right there. But we'll see how it plays out. I think Fetterman's looking pretty good right now in terms of where he's standing at the polls, but I think it's a little bit of a narrow margin right now compared to what's going on in Georgia. So, I mean, polls have been wrong before, but we shall see with the Pennsylvania primary. That's going to be a big one in terms of Senate shakeups.
Yep. Let's take a quick look at some of the other Senate races. We'll just go through them really quickly. So there's another Senate race that is leaning to the Republicans right now. This is between J.D. Vance and Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan was the Democrat candidate running for president back in 2020 against J.D. Vance, who Vance is more of a Republican Trump-like candidate. So right now, 538 does favor Vance, and Ohio turned more red in the past election too. So that was something to take in to consideration. I'm looking at another race. This is out west in Nevada. The race in Nevada right now is currently a toss-up between the incumbent Catherine Cortez Masto and Adam Paul Exalt. And Adam Paul Exalt used to be the Attorney General, I believe. So he is known. He's a Republican, and there have been a few key issues there. I know that Cortez Masto has been, I think she poured in $2 million into Spanish language ads. This was recent, and Adam Paul Lexalt, he recently had a few controversial talking points about the FBI. But
Yeah, that's right.
there are a few issues there, but this is going to go down the stretch. I mean, we saw in Nevada in 2020, that was only won by 2 percentage points. Biden only took that state by 2 percentage points. So when you look at that, again, Nevada is going to be an important one. And this could be one where if the Republicans lose out in Pennsylvania, let's say the Democrats get a gain there, this could be where they make up. And I think with Adam Paul Exalt, this could be their area because this is a very close race. And depending on how Nevada is changing a bit, this could be where they win. But again, it's very close. There's probably going to be still more. There's going to be more tension I'm sure that there's going to be more PAC money um, fueling both of these campaigns. So we'll see down the stretch, but this is one to keep an eye on.
And by the way, I'm gonna go back to Ohio for 1 second because I
Yep.
just looked this up. Apparently, Tim Ryan recently got caught in some drug company sort of donations,
Hmm.
and of course, there's a big opioids crisis there. So that's not a really good look for him. That's probably why he's behind in the polls for a little bit.
Wow. Oh yeah, I'm looking at some of the polls here. So there's a few polls that are actually favoring Ryan, which is interesting. I see in late August they were actually favoring Ryan by 6 points. Suffolk had him up by 1, and then Baldwin Wallace University had him up by 3, and then it kind of switched in September, and since then it's kind of gone back and forth. But 538 does see Vance winning. I don't know by how many points. I'd say probably between the margins of 2 and 4 percentage points. I don't think it I think it's going to be a narrow victory, but I do see the Republican winning it here. But that's interesting that you brought that up about the drugs because that's a whole other thing too, with fentanyl and the opioid crisis in the US, how that's also being discussed too, and the safety and um, also crime as well. And we've seen that being discussed as well. So that's interesting that you put that up in Ohio.
Yeah, obviously, Tim Ryan's probably a more familiar face in Ohio since he was there in the House of Representatives for a good amount of time there,
Yep.
representing Ohio's 13th district. But yeah, obviously, that's a bad headline for him, and obviously, we can tell by these polls that the GOP might be taking on Ohio right here. So it all balances out.
Now I'm looking also at Arizona. This is the incumbent Mark Kelly. Blake Masters, I believe, is a candidate who is described as being more of a Trump loyalist. And yeah, as of right now, Kelly's favored to win at least by 5 to 10 percentage points on this poll. But this was being discussed too with Blake Masters.
Yep. As we alluded to in our previous talk about the midterms, they didn't really have it was a late primary for Republicans, and it was like a freeway race between Masters and some other people. And then
Mhm.
Masters come out, he's a venture capitalist. He doesn't really have that much political experience, so Kelly seems to be doing well in the polls right there. Looks like it's going to stay blue in terms of
Yep.
Senate representation for that seat.
Yeah, he's a former astronaut too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give him that.
Yeah, that was cool that yeah, he's a former astronaut. But yeah, now I was gonna look at one more race just to show you what's going on. And this is gonna be in Florida, and it favors Marco Rubio winning. They say 86 out of 100 times he will win this race. And I'm just looking at some of the polls here. Yeah, Rubio has pretty much Val Demings, who was the former rep of the Orlando area. I forgot what district that is, but she was also considered to be one of the few women VP candidates that President Biden was going to choose. I know that her name was floating in that discussion back prior to the election, but as of right now, it's looking that Marco Rubio, the incumbent Republican, is going to win the state of Florida. But I think Florida, this is going to be a key race also to look into because Florida actually has been getting a little bit more red, and that's pretty much due to the demographics changing. I know that this has been a discussion, but Latinos, they've actually been shifting more to the right
Yeah.
in the past couple elections, and we saw that in Texas with a few of the congressional races. I know Myra Flores, who's now in Congress, she won her race, and that was it's like a southern Texas district. That district used to be like dark blue, and she flipped it red, and she ran on family, faith, and country. I believe those were her slogans. But which shows that with the electorate changing and also targeting Latinos, Republicans could make it up here. And Marco Rubio being Latino, this could also be interesting. And to look into the Miami area, I think that's an area to really look into.
Yeah, there's a recent NBC story about people in the Hispanic community, especially migrants coming from Latin states and like Latin America.
Mhm.
They said that you're right. There was a little bit of a red shift, and we actually, I think I said shit right there. There was a
I
little
think you
bit of a
said
red
shift.
shift amongst Latino voters because, as you said, they have the very shared sort of values of like that kind of align with Republicans. I think we talked about this previously in like our 2020 races in
Mhm.
our 2020. I know we talked about it a while ago, but yeah, you're right. They have been like shifting a little bit red, and an excuse that Republicans are kind of saying like, oh, Democrats are importing migrants from Mexico to increase their votership. That's not really the case anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really the case. And you also look at recent issues in Latin America, of course, the downfall of Venezuela due to socialism. You also saw in Nicaragua with the socialist leader there, Daniel Ortega, and with migrants moving in from Venezuela and also Nicaragua, just to name a few countries, and their experiences with things like communism, even in the past with Cubans too. His Cubans have been a historically conservative uh, group,
Yep.
and they have been a big part of the electorate in Southern Florida. And I mean, when you look at that and you look at the experiences of people from countries where they have experienced socialism or even issues with the political system, and you have these conservative, voices discussing.
Ah, you got the mic feedback.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, what happened?
You got the little mic feedback. You might want to plug that thing back in.
Oh, we have an issue with the mic. Is it working now?
Yeah, it's fine right now.
Okay, maybe because I'm wearing two mics. I'm wearing one headphone mic. I think it may have touched.
Can't do that, kid. Gotta get up.
All right, I apologize because of that, and I apologize to the listeners too if they heard that.
By the
But
way, Liz texted me. She liked your the way you said Nicaragua.
okay. I lived with a Nicaraguan family, so that's the reason why I know how to pronounce it. Shout out to my Nicaraguan family. I lived with when I lived abroad. But yeah, just when you live in a country where the political um, the political life is a lot different and it's also a lot more strict, they're going to kind of fear that if you discuss that, and Republicans have been able to discuss that, and that's how they've been able to get a lot of Latino voters, especially from those countries I mentioned previously, to their side. But yeah, that was pretty much my point there.
Yeah, well, on that note, jeez, completely delayed by that. Yeah, but yeah, obviously there's going to be I think we're starting to see this now more and more. I remember watching like a Destiny debates a little bit ago, and they talked about sort of now that they're implementing. You're starting to see this now in debates. You saw this in 2020 with like candidates speaking Spanish to reach out to their Hispanic audience. Now we're seeing that in Nevada. It's going to be a big factor for elections going forward. And I think when you're looking at 2024, I think that's good. I think the Hispanic vote is going to be crucial right there.
And yeah, even to go off of that too, I think that, well, in the future there are projections that the white majority won't actually be the majority. There actually won't be a
No,
majority.
we're not gonna. I don't think.
Well, no, I'm just discussing
There's a
it
lot
because.
of there's a lot of baggage with that.
Well, hold on. I'm not bringing up a whole issue. I'm just bringing up that it's going to change the electorate in future elections,
That's
especially
true.
by 2040. How demographics are going to change. And I believe Latinos will actually be like, they will be the highest. Oh, there will be like more Latinos than whites. I know that it could. I don't want to make a dog whistle or anything like that. I'm just stating facts with that. Those are
Yeah.
what projections are for like demographics, and how those could also impact future elections and just the political spectrum.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit of a ways away from that, but that's obviously something to keep in mind as we go forward because obviously there's not everything is so black and white in terms of sort of demographics that these candidates are reaching out to, which is a big part of campaigns right there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just rely on on sort of a white working class vote. No, you can't. Can't do it.
Yeah, can't. Yeah, especially like the more diverse states you live in, like New York, Florida, Texas, but even states where they're seeing that now too, like Ohio. Yeah, there are states that they're getting a lot more diverse, and you can't just run on, you can't like this isn't 150 years ago when you could just say, okay, the white working class vote and I can win. But no, now you have to reach out to a whole.
There's a lot of racism back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, there you go. And then what was I about to say? Oh yeah, having looked at all this, has this changed your mind on sort of where you stand right now with the midterms coming up in terms of our projections?
Um, well, just looking at those few races, I think there's a few up in the air. Nevada, especially, that's one that I don't know what it's going to come down to. Will there be an October surprise? There might be in that race, but I'm not 100% sure. I think with the Georgia race, I think I'm pretty sold that it's going to go to Warnock. And Pennsylvania, I think it's probably going to go to current Lieutenant Governor Fetterman. But if we're discussing like demographics, I think in the future, no one party is going to be better off because I think that it's more going to come down to not about race or not about identity politics, but I think it's going to come down to more about the policies and how they impact people because all these policies are going to start to impact people no matter what your ethnicity is, your origin, your nationality, your gender, whatever, and your age too. So I think in the future, it's really going to depend more on the issues. And like we alluded to in the beginning, inflation doesn't discriminate, abortion doesn't discriminate. So,
Right.
with those issues, I think it's going to come down to who is the better candidate and how they can reach out to their electorate.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points there. I think. Let's see here. I want to pull up a map. I know, and then we'll just see how we're based on our sort of thoughts and where things right now. Let's see how many. Let's see the seats that could be taken right now.
Okay.
Just get an idea of where or not things could flip back or not. So
this is the map right now. We're looking at mostly the races that we're really keeping an eye on are the races where the color of the box, this box right here, this is where the seat is opened in. So the lighter the color, the closer the race is going to be. So Pennsylvania lean Democrat right now, Wisconsin lean Republican with the incumbent Ron Johnson. You have the incumbent in Indiana, solid R, but then you have Ohio, which is a lean. These are both. This is an open seat, and also here in Pennsylvania is an open seat too. You have Maryland, which is there's the incumbent Chris Van Hollen. You have New Hampshire's, which is more likely. So we're looking at I believe there is 30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, there are 30 seats up.
30 seats. Yep.
And I don't know. Well, there's been a lot of talk about sort of like Republicans always like to hype up since the economy is going down. Like, okay, we're going to take back the House and the Senate. Well, while right here, I think it's still, as we predicted, it's still going to be that gridlock.
But the thing is that Republicans, there are 21 seats.
Yep.
And Republicans that are holding the seats right now, there's 21 of those. There's only 14 Democrat seats. And the one big one that we're really looking into is Nevada. And you can make the argument with Arizona, but I don't know how Masters is going to do there. But I think Nevada is the one seat where Democrats are really going to have to worry. But for Republicans, I think it's going to be Pennsylvania. This is going to be the seat that they worry because the Republican had it. And now it's going to be either Fetterman or Oz. So those two races, I think, for each respective party are going to be the ones that could either put the Republicans over or the Democrats over, depending on who wins those races.
We are in for some interesting times right here.
Yeah. Let's take a quick peek at the House, too. I just want to see what's going on in the House. Yeah, they're saying that Republicans are going to win the House. Um, okay, so there's a couple races. I'm not too familiar with some of the races that we're seeing, but you can look here. The House right now has 214 Republicans, 221 Democrats. Um, and they said of these seats, 214 Republican and 221 Democrat seats are up for election because it's every 2 years. But yeah, I mean, you look here, there's 195 seats that they think are going to be solid Republican, 168 solid Democrat. But you look at these numbers here, you have 62 that are kind of in these shades. And that's what could shift the race is either Republican or Democrat. But a lot of them here, the shifts, a lot of them are actually, some of them have incumbents. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's the incumbent. And then they actually merged one race, I remember, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, if you look at these ones, these are like the main ones that we're looking into. See, this is the one I was talking about. Texas 15th um, district. This is the one that right now it is close, but De La Cruz is a Republican candidate. Vallejo is the Democrat, and it's pretty much a toss up. And this is the 34th between Vicente Gonzalez and Myra Flores. But they think it's going to be a lean because they merged the two together. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see again with both the House and the Senate.
Yeah, I think for election night, we're probably going to try and do some live coverage of it.
Yep.
Just see what flips, what doesn't flip. Also, we might be keeping out governor races as well. Let's see here. I think the one in Texas with
Abbott.
Huge one right now.
Yeah, right now they're saying that Abbott's most likely going to win. They do say it's a toss up though in terms of what's going on right now, but Abbott is favored. I think that a lot of Texans still approve of his job, and even some approve of his job with immigration too. But yeah, Quinnipiac's poll, which came out in late September, has Abbott at +7, and the Emerson College poll, which came out September 20th, has him at +8. So it seems like he has a solid lead, and it hasn't really shifted too much. And since he is the incumbent, and Texas is still considered red, so I do see Abbott holding on to the governor's race there.
I swear, Beto's been trying everything.
Yeah, he's been trying everything.
He tried to run against Cruz, and then he ran for president, and now here he is in the governor's race. Poor Beto.
And then Matthew McConaughey, he was going to run for governor, and then he kind of bounced out or something.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, if he ran as a third candidate, I'm interested to see how that would have turned out. Because could he have garnered some of those moderate Republicans, and could have that helped out? Could that have helped out Beto? I mean, who knows? But I think with Beto's case, his best case scenario is either to run for the House or to run for president. I think, because I don't think he's going to win the state of Texas if he's running for Senate.
You try to get a cabinet position.
Yeah, or a cabinet position. That's right as well.
Hey, Biden might be out in 2024, so it could be replaced by another Democrat. But I wonder if there's a, you know how we did the Republican tier list for 2024? I wonder if there's a Democrat.
Yeah, we actually have to do a Democrat because I see a couple Democrats. I mean, there's fluctuating the idea of Buttigieg,
Gavin Newsom.
Hillary. I've heard of Hillary too coming back. I don't know how true that is.
Newsom is the big one.
Newsom, yep.
He's been going after Ronald DeSantis right there. So
yeah, I mean they're having
gearing up
that debate, right? Is that true? I did hear that he challenged DeSantis to a debate.
I'm pretty sure he declined it, but
declined it. Okay. Yeah, that was right before the hurricane came, so I don't know if he's just focusing on the hurricane cleanup or not. But yeah, I think if we're not going to see Biden run again, Kamala could be. She could run for president. I just don't know with her numbers, with her last running for president back in 2020, how she went out immediately. That would be the main concern I think a lot of Democratic strategists would have. But again, I think that Newsom would be the favorite right now.
Hey, Biden is getting a jump in polls right now. All right,
He is. That is true. Yeah.
he probably is. He just did the whole country a favor by getting rid of by bar. What's the term for it?
Oh, cannabis.
Cannabis. Well, he's making sure people who have been locked up for cannabis get out, which has been an issue that Democrats have been running for a while. We'll play this video.
Let's
then
play
we'll
this
end it
video.
off.
This was the White House. The caption says, "Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana." Hear from the President of the United States on 3 steps he is taking to right these wrongs. We'll review this, we'll watch this, and then we'll react.
As I said when I ran for president, no one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana. It's already legal in many states, and criminal records for marijuana possession have led to needless barriers to employment, to housing, and educational opportunities. And that's before you address the racial disparities around who suffers the consequences. While white and black and brown people use marijuana at similar rates, Black and brown people are arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at disproportionately higher rates. So today, I'm taking 3 steps to end this failed approach. First, I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana. There are thousands of people who are convicted for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result of that conviction. My pardon will remove this burden on them. Second,
Yeah, I think that first one is very significant. Giving people a pardon who had a federal offense of marijuana, because a lot of people, once they have an offense, this denies them a lot of ability to have housing, pursue a job that they wanted to have. So I think that's a big step, and that's a big first step to helping out a lot of Americans who have been a victim of the war on drugs.
I'm calling on all governors to do the same for state marijuana possession offenses. Third, the federal government currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, the same as heroin and LSD, and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. So I'm asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to initiate a process to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Even as federal and local regulations of marijuana change, important limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales should stay in place. Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs.
Wow, I was surprised when this was announced today, but I want to get your thoughts on this, Big Don.
Well, first off, Biden looks kind of high in this, which I respect. It really brings up the authenticity here. But no, this is obviously a big issue. I know people are going to probably meme about Kamala and her role and sort of what's been going on in California with that weed issue. But yeah, Biden's bringing up good points right here. He's and I think it should be. I think with people who had a federal offense, they don't deserve that. I mean, most marijuana is becoming more and more legalized. I think people are starting to realize that there's not a lot of stigmatization around it anymore. Maybe more red states, which I mean, you can still get charged by your state for possessing marijuana, but still, this is obviously a big step and something that Democrats have been talking about for a while.
Yep, we have seen this for a while, and I think this shows you that Biden is starting to try to appease maybe some of the voters in the Democratic caucus that might have been more left leaning. And this also is trying to appease young voters too, because as you see, there was a recent poll that showed that opinions on marijuana, there was a sharp difference between the old people, like people who were 60 and up, so senior citizens,
The boomers,
and yeah, the Zoomers and the what is this? The younger generation besides Z.
millennial.
No, like younger than the Zoomers.
There's another generation after Gen
Yeah.
Z. What the?
Yeah, I forgot what they're called, but yeah, even like those kids who are like just becoming teens now, and the
They're pulling
Zoomers,
teens. What the hell?
yeah, they're like that whole is different. But yeah, it just shows you that there's a huge difference.
Hey, what the? First off, whatever kid's here, but we'll finish this point, and then we'll get his thoughts.
Yeah, but yeah, marijuana is yeah, it's interesting to see that Biden did this, but I think at the end of the day, there's starting to be a shift in the approach to marijuana and also even the approach to the war on drugs. Let's welcome in the whatever kid.
Hey there.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, the first thing I know I'm gonna be bringing this to like more like your sports thing, but first thing I'm thinking with like this whole Biden thing is I'm thinking that Josh Gordon must be punching his hands in the air right now after hearing all that.
Go crazy.
He got in trouble for all this marijuana stuff years ago, and then Biden's saying that people shouldn't get arrested and be going to prison for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows you that there's a whole difference now. I think it's pretty much pressure. I think a lot of people have started to pressure Biden, so he probably wanted to again, I'd say appease. But yeah, going with Josh Gordon, he probably wished that this was years ago that this was because he got in trouble like 5-6 years ago. But yeah, now it's different. I think it shows you how fast public opinion on something can change.
Yeah, especially with just like us, because we're all like in our 20s, and just from the way that marijuana was viewed like 2013 has advanced from like how it is now, and then earlier, like before 2013, it was different. So it keeps on evolving as the years go on.
Yeah, there is that, and I mean, if you polled people back in the 90s, I'm actually going to try to pull up a Pew Research poll on this. I want to see. I don't know if we have some older polls, but yeah, it says Republicans age 65 and older are far less likely than younger Republicans to support legalizing marijuana for medical and recreation use. And it shows you like by class, I mean by party and by age, there's a lot of differences there. But I'm trying to see if there's any like throughout the years. There probably is one. I just
It's
need to
probably
pull
got
it
enough.
up.
More and more states are legalizing it. Let me look at the number of people. Number of states. How many states?
Oh, I found it. This is a good one. I'm going to stop share really quick. And we can continue to discuss this because I like this conversation. But I'm just going to bring up this poll really quick. This was by Pew Research.
And by the way, 19 states, not including Guam, the northern freaking islands right there, Northern Mariana Islands in DC, have legalized weed. So yeah, there you go. I remember back then it was like just like Colorado and like a few other select states.
Yeah. But this one right here is opinion on legalizing marijuana. This was between 1969 and 2015, so it's a little outdated. But it shows you that those that wanted to legalize it, it started going up, say back in the 80s. Well, actually, which was weird was that I mean we went through the stoner age back in the 70s, late 70s and early 80s. Yeah, back in the Woodstock days, and then it dripped down in the 80s when we had the war on drugs.
I mean, the Woodstock days, that was 1969. It looked like the 70s,
yeah, right here.
Just boom. That was as
Yeah,
close
70s it went up. But then we had the war on drugs right here in the 80s. And then it slowly started going up, I noticed in the 90s. And then when we got to 2000, it was 31% wanted it legalized, 63% wanted it to be illegal. And this was only like 20 something years ago. And then look at that though. In 2015, it shifted. 53% wanted it legal, 44% wanted it illegal. But since then, it's probably gone up even higher.
It's probably more like, I'd say maybe like 64% want it legal.
Oh, yeah. And I think when there was more of a discussion on like the medical benefits of marijuana use, and also maybe people starting to see how people getting locked up for marijuana wasn't really helping the issue. that could have also shifted opinion too. So some people may not still like, maybe they're not marijuana users themselves, but how they see it as impacting their community and people around them, that they see it as a benefit. I think that also may have shifted opinion too between 25th or like back in the 90s or 60s to now.
Yeah, and another thing I think affects that is people will do way more serious crimes, like Jeffrey Epstein, for example.
Yep.
2008, when he got charged, it was only what, 13 months for what he did, and then people that smoke a little weed, they're doing more time for that. So I think that factors into it as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Look, if you got money and you commit murder, you can probably get away for jail for like a couple months.
Oh yeah.
As long as you got those resources there. I remember Moist Critic. He did a whole entire tier list of bad celebrities, and a lot of them got like arrested and stuff like that, and they like straight up murder people. Obviously, we got like OJ and stuff like that. Matthew Broderick was another example that now a lot of people know about. But he did some things, and then yeah, if you have money, you can buy yourself an attorney. You can go pretty far with the legal system there. But obviously, Biden's trying to atone for that. I think by 2024, this is gonna be a whole new demographic of voters right now. The marijuana users, because I'm not sure. Will Republicans try to reverse it? I don't know. Do they want to touch those demographics? I don't know.
Mm. Well, I don't think
Yeah,
that would be smart. Oh, go ahead, whatever, kid.
yeah, voting is going to be very interesting because I don't know where I saw this stat, but there was some stat where the highest population in the world is like people our age, like young people. That's the most people in the world.
Yeah, the youth. Yeah, like young
Yeah,
20s.
The boomers are dying off.
Yeah, and I think the average American though is around like 37, 38. So they're like a part of
They're
the
millennials.
millennials. Yeah, millennials. But the boomers, we're seeing like, I mean, the boomers are now elderly. Um, and yeah, but with the whole new like generation coming up, and even the Zoomers and whoever the Zoomers, because there's another generation. But I think they're called the Gen Z1 or something like that. I don't quote me on it, but it's a weird name. But even them, I mean, they're going to start in the next 4 to 6 years. They're going to start getting involved in election cycles too, and we're going to start to see that shift as well. And I think with these issues, we're just going to see it, you know, legalization of marijuana just continue to garner support, and that's due to, you know, the generation that was growing up in the 80s and 90s, the millennials and the Zoomers, and this new generation that they're just going to continue the trend. And, you know, our grandchildren at some point, they're going to probably continue that. And probably by that time, legalizing marijuana. I mean, it'll probably already be legalized, maybe even at the federal level by then.
Yeah, we should. I don't really think it's like a Republican issue now, because I know a lot of Trump populists. They smoke a lot of weed, so so it might be a generation thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when people were coming out and saying like, "Oh, Gen Z is going to be the new baby boomers in terms of like conservative demographics." I'm not sure if that's actually true.
I don't think it is.
I don't know, but I think with the age of the internet, anything could actually happen in terms of like what people are going to be voting for. So
That's true. Yeah, it definitely comes down to some of the issues that are going to be in every cycle. Of course, we're going to have abortion continue to be an issue, and that's going to continue to be discussed in every election cycle. But again, with drugs, maybe the decriminalization of, I think, psychedelics. I think, was it Portland that decriminalized psychedelics? So can we see that in the next 20 to 30 years when people are a little bit more lenient with that? I mean, who knows? But yeah, every time there's a new election cycle, I think we'll see more progress on some issues, especially with drugs in the U.S.
yeah, on that note, good job, Biden. Having said that, you still got a bit of a ways to go for 2024. So some policy right there. He was recently in Poughkeepsie, New York. He was talking about like bringing back IBM in that region. IBM used to be really popular up in like the Poughkeepsie regions, but they shut down and they lost a lot of jobs. So I don't know. Biden's on a roll. Let's see. We'll see how his approval rating is by the time we get to midterms. But we're in for some interesting names right here. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the. I'm gonna actually pull up the. You were talking about Poughkeepsie, New York.
Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie. Yeah, I was actually just looking on their Twitter. The White House has some interesting stuff because they teamed up with the Late Show last night, and I guess Dr. Fauci got a COVID shot on the show. Oh,
I already know conservatives are gonna be
They're gonna be
big
losing.
heroes that Stephen Crowder's gonna be like, oh, look at this propaganda they're spreading.
That's not even a real shot.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And this is kind of weird. I love how there's like all these federal agents like just walking around, just making sure no one
tries to
walks up
assassinate
on
him.
them. Yeah, no one goes up. This is kind of funny though. I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's their number one tweet right now. But yeah, this is the Biden was in New York today. He said today President Biden toured IBM in Poughkeepsie, New York. Because of the groundbreaking Chips and Science Act, America's future will be built at this factory and other factories. Oh, yeah, that's because of the whole microchip situation and the supply chain that we were having issues with.
Yep. To all your Marist college students, that's where they do the polls right there. They got a whole call center. It's pretty
Yep.
good. To all the Marist college students, I remember going on tour there, and they said like, "Oh, we were with IBM. Like IBM hasn't been there, but now the Marist college is going to get up. Good for
You're going to
Marist.
get up. They were getting up with the polls, and now they're going to continue to get up with more jobs. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Biden's been on his redemption arc, it seems like.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I think they were all scared by the polls, and then with them tiptoeing around inflation, like a lot of them were trying to also try to redefine what a recession was. A lot of Americans were starting to not really show hope, I think, with the Biden administration. But
Yeah, they got gas prices down.
yeah, they got gas prices down, but now they're really trying to help out the Democrats in November with the midterms, because usually historically the incumbent or the president, his party or their party usually does not do well during the midterm elections. So they're trying to prevent that, or at least make it so that they can at least have the Senate and hopefully keep the House close. But we'll just wait and see on those races, because those races are going to be key.
We're going to be doing the PC Chaos election special.
Yep, we're going to be doing
Everyone
the
get
PC
up.
Chaos election special. That'll be in early November on, I believe, November. What is it? November 3rd?
Was it November? What's that? What's that Tuesday?
Oh, November
8th?
Oh, it's November 8th? Yeah, election day is November 8th this year.
All right.
Yep. Because the 1st of November is a Tuesday, but according to this, November 8th is election day. So mark your calendars, people. That's pretty much in 1 month. Yeah. Just about a month away. So we'll keep you guys posted with that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah. Any other developments we want to talk about?
I think we're good here. I mean, we could talk about international politics, but that'll be going way off tangent there.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting developments right over there. Hunter Biden is also trending on Twitter. Apparently, they found some stuff with him.
Yep.
But that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah,
that
that's a whole, that will
Biden
lead
get
to
on.
another hour. But yeah, basically, I think they said they have sufficient evidence to charge him with tax crimes and gun purchasing crimes. That was according to the Washington Post. So I know for a fact conservative Twitter and also media outlets will be talking about that for days. But yeah, how about next time we'll probably shift the focus maybe to international politics, because I know that we still have the war going on in Ukraine. There was recently some natural disasters we could probably discuss a little bit.
There's an oil crisis right now in Europe.
Yeah, the oil crisis too, and also the mystery going on with the Nord Stream pipeline. Something happened to it; it got sabotaged, and everyone's pointing the finger at someone else. So we can discuss that next time as well.
We're gonna connect the links there, but we might be shifting more towards weeknights. Weekend is usually when we do our sports program, which you can check out, of course.
Yep, our sports program. I'll actually, if we have it here, it's called Any Given Monday Morning. Yep, I'll put it right here on this banner. You can look at it in the bottom. Any Given Monday Morning Sports. You can go subscribe to us on there. We do it every weekend, so we'll be getting back
games, so
NFL, MLB. We're discussing a lot. We discuss soccer too. So all sports, we have a discussion about. But yes, we will be doing this program most likely on a weekday. We haven't really chosen a weekday yet, but just keep in mind our Twitter and just go from there. We'll be announcing every time we go live, and you can watch it on the playback too, which is nice on YouTube. And also go check out the Whatever Kids channel too. He does a lot of great videos, so you can go check out his stuff.
Sneeko's gone.
Sneeko's gone, but the Whatever Kid's been doing some disses. He recently did one on H3H3, so you can go check that out. He goes after him, and he goes after a lot of different rappers, so you got to go check out the Whatever Kid too. But I think that is going to do it for us. Any last words, boys?
We're in for a very exciting election season, that's for sure.
That is right. That is right. Thank you, everyone, again. Thank you, Liz, for tuning in. Thank you to the Whatever Kid for tuning in and also being on the talk tonight. And thank you, everyone else, watching it on playback. I'm DJ Aceman alongside Big Don and the Whatever Kid. That's going to do it for tonight on the Peace and Chaos program. Peace out, everyone.
Goodbye.
Have a good one.